My name is Simon Ganahl. I'm a media and literature scholar at the University of Vienna, and I would like to give you a quick tour through my digital mapping project, Campus Medius. We are already at the start page of campusmedius.net, but before I will start a tour, I want to tell you something about the origins of this project. It started in my PhD studies, where I analyzed the media references in the writings of Karl Kraus and Peter Altenberg. These were two major figures of Viennese modernism, and in the works by Karl Kraus, one of the texts that I analyzed was the Third Walpurgisnacht, the Dritte Walpurgisnacht is the German title. In this documentary essay, Karl Kraus analyzed the National Socialist seizure of power that was happening at the same time in Germany. And for Kraus in the Third Walpurgisnacht, the weekend of May 13 and 14, 1933 was important. It was a kind of turning point of how he saw, how he judged the contemporary political situation. I started to research what was happening in Vienna on this weekend. I got fascinated by the multiplicity of events that were happening at different sites in the city. And so I started my postdoctoral thesis, my postdoctoral research project with this weekend. I researched what was happening, and so I came up with the first version of Campus Medius, which is now implemented as the topography module of the website you're seeing right now. You see that this is a combination of an interactive map and a timeline. On the timeline, you see it is May 13, 1933 and May 14, 1933. This is this weekend that I was talking about. But actually, as you see here, it's not the whole weekend, but 24 hours within this weekend. So why these 24 hours? For this decision, a concept by the Russian literature scholar Mikhail Bakhtin was important. Bakhtin wrote an essay in the 1930s where he developed a concept that he called chronotope. So chronos, time, and topos, space, so kind of time space, and influenced by Einstein's relativity theory, Bakhtin analyzed such time spaces in literary works. Although Bakhtin did not himself work about the chronotopes in the modernist novel in the first third of the 20th century, this is exactly what came to my mind when you think about the famous examples like Ulysses by James Joyce or Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, or the symbolist novel Petersburg by André Bely, for example. You could name many other examples. You have again and again the attempt to capture modernity within displaying, within telling the events within 24 hours or a day in a city, in a metropolis. I thought, why not use this literary concept for a media historical work study, and so I ended up with this interactive map showing 15 selected events within these 24 hours in Vienna on May 13 and 14, 1933. On the top here is the map, the digital map, but as you may see, originally this is not a digital map. This is a printed map that was published by the old traditional Viennese cartographic publishing house, Freytag and Berndt. It is a city map of Vienna from 1933. It's archived in the Austrian National Library. I scanned it with very high resolution there. We turned it into a GeoTIFF file, and then we rectified this printed city map of Vienna from 1933. We rectified it to align with the underlying data of the open street map. So the base map of Campus Medius is the OpenStreetMap, and rectified on it is a city map of Vienna by Freytag and Berndt from 1933. Okay, If you click in the topography and start here, you will jump right away to the chronologically first event within these 24 hours. I will go through the events here chronologically. You can follow on the timeline, and you see on the map that it's jumping from one side to the next. And we will stop here at the main event of this weekend, so the most important event within these 24 hours, within this historical chronotope, was a so-called Turks Deliverance celebration, Türkenbefreiungsfeier in German, that was happening on Sunday morning, May 14, 1933, in the Palace Gardens of Schönbrunn. Schönbrunn Palace was the summer residence of the Habsburg monarchs. Austria was a monarchy until the end of the First World War. And in 1919, after the First World War, the First Austrian Republic was established. But in 1933, not only in Germany, there was a political upheaval happening, but also in Austria. The First Democratic Republic ended, and a new authoritarian and later Austro-fascist state was established under the guidance of the then Austrian Chancellor Engelbert Dollfuss, and he was supported in this turning away from a democratic to an authoritarian regime by the then leader of the Austrian Home Guards. His name was Ernst Rüdiger Starhemberg, and Starhemberg was the one who proposed to do this so-called Turks Deliverance celebration, which was a kind of Austro-fascist kick-off event. Home Guard men, the Home Guards were the fascist organization in Austria at that time. Home Guard men from all Austria came to Vienna, assembled in this French baroque garden, which you see here on the map on Sunday morning. And afterwards, they marched into the city of Vienna, which was at that time and still is today governed by the Social Democrats. We used this event, this Turks Deliverance celebration. I will get back to the title of this event later. I will explain what this Turks Deliverance celebration was about. We used this event for a multi-perspectival account, which is now implemented in the topology module of Campus Medius. You see 15 different perspectives. We call them mediators on the Turks Deliverance celebration in Vienna on May 14, 1933 here. Why do we call them mediators? These are perspectives, you could say. We call them mediators because the guiding concepts in terms of methodology and theory behind Campus Medius, the guiding concepts are, on the one hand, the concept of the dispositif as developed by Michel Foucault, and on the other hand, actor network theory, which came out of science and technology studies. So we call them mediators. And these 15 mediators are grouped in 3 different mediations. We call them mediations, and they are also different mapping interfaces. The first one is the bird's eye interface, and the title we chose for this interface or mediation is How to Use Reason, Sovereign Science. The second panorama interface, the second mediation, is called How to Capture Life, Examining Gazes. And the third one has the title How to Speak Up, Govern Transmissions, and it's the Street View interface. We would like to show here in the topology that these 3 standardized mapping interfaces, the bird's eye, the panorama, the street view, are not merely neutral mathematical decisions, but rather they are worldviews in their own, or to use a stronger word, they have their own ideologies. And by using the topology of Campus Medius, the user should recognize these different ideologies of these mapping interfaces. Before I give you a few examples, I would like to say something about the icons that you see here. These icons are taken from or based on a design concept that was developed contemporary to the time and space of the historical case study of Campus Medius itself. It is the so-called isotype, a design language that was developed mainly by Otto Neurath, or under the guidance of Otto Neurath, from the mid 1920s onwards in Vienna. And the idea of isotype was to develop a universal design vocabulary. For us, isotype is not universal, so like working on all over the world in all different times, but rather it's interesting for Campus Medius because these kinds of signs, of pictograms, were developed, were conceptualized at the same time and in the same place where the case study of Campus Medius itself is happening. If you click on Start here, you will jump here to the central knot of the first mediation, how to use reason, sovereign signs. As you see, this is a centralized network, and in the center of it is a knot that is the bird's eye view, the cartographic bird's eye view, but historically and culturally, it is the God's perspective. So it's actually the perspective of God that you take if you look on the world from the bird's eye perspective. You see here in the background a world map by Philipp Eckebrecht from the 17th century. And if you choose one of the mediators, you will zoom down to this specific perspective. In this case, it's Ernst Rüdiger Starenberg, the initiator of the Turks' deliverance celebration, who proposed to the then Chancellor of Austria, Engelbert Dollfuss, in spring 1933 to organize this propaganda event to distribute the ideas of what he himself called Austrofascism. You see him here on the garden terrace of Schönbrunn in front of the microphones, speaking. In the Baroque French gardens of Schönbrunn are the thousands of home guard men who came to Vienna for this event, assembled in this centralized architecture of the Schönbrunn Palace Gardens. And so why did Starenberg call this propaganda event a Turks deliverance celebration? It is a memory event commemorating the liberation of Vienna from the so-called Turkish siege in 1683. So Ottoman troops besieged Vienna in the summer of 1683, and one of the men who helped to free the city from the siege was a forefather of Ernst Rüdiger Starenberg, Count Ernst Rüdiger of Starenberg, who was the city commandant of Vienna at that time. So Starenberg, who came from this old noble family of the Starenbergs, had personal reasons why to call this propaganda event for Austrofascism Turks deliverance celebration. And this is one of the things that I explain in this perspective here. If we change to the second mediation, to the second interface, it's the panorama interface. You see this is not a centralized network like here, but a ranked, a kind of linear network. And if the user wants to navigate to the next mediator, he or she needs to pan like we just did. And I will stop right here at a perspective, a mediator that I entitled Bell and Howell to 709. And one of the starting points for this description was this photograph from the Austrian National Library, archived in the Austrian National Library, which shows the Home Guard troops which were assembled in the Turks deliverance celebration in Schönbrunn, and afterwards they marched into the center of the city and were captured here on a photograph. On the right edge of this image you see this limousine, and on top of it a cameraman holding a camera in his hand, panning a camera. And I researched what kind of camera this is. I found out this is the quite famous Model 2709 by the Chicago film devices producer Ganahl. I also found the film that he captured for Fox Movietone News in the Austrian Film Archive. And so I analyze how this camera was able to capture the movement of the parade, how the produced film for the Fox Movietone News was edited, and so on. A last example here in the topology, it is for the third mediation entitled How to Speak Up, Govern Transmissions. You see that this is a distributed network, meaning that all of these 5 mediators are connected with each other from one mediator. You can here in the street view navigate by tracking, but I will go back here now and tell you something about this example. You also see that you are in the street view. You're viewing the map of 1933, the originally printed map of Vienna from 1933 in street view, and on top of it we visualized the 3D buildings where the different perspectives start, and we used for these 3D buildings open data provided by the city of Vienna. Here this example is called Mike's Cables Transmitters, and I will can tell you something about it by talking about this picture here. It is also taken on the garden terrace of Schönbrunn Palace during the Turks' deliverance celebration. In front of the microphones is Engelbert Dollfuß, the then Chancellor of Austria, and behind him is Ernst Rüdiger Starhemberg. I analyze here, I research what kind of microphones these are, how they were used to transmit the speeches into the palace garden, how they were used to broadcast the speeches in Radio Wien, and how these microphones and all the other devices connected to them were used to record these speeches. So it's a kind of media archaeological investigation. Okay. Regarding the technical infrastructure of Campus Medius, the whole project was developed from scratch using open source software. The code of Campus Medius is documented and archived on GitHub. The whole content of Campus Medius is available open access under the CC BY license, Creative Commons CC BY. It is published in English and in German, so bilingual. The whole website is designed in a responsive way, meaning there is not only this desktop version that we are looking at right now, but there is also a mobile version for devices like tablets, smartphones, and so on. The metadata of each page is accessible if you click on the citation icon next to each page title. You have an overview of the metadata here, and you can download this metadata as linked open data in the format JSON LD. The website is full text searchable. You can do this like that, and it runs, the website Campus Medius runs on a virtual machine, a virtual server provided by the Vienna University Computer Center, and all the media objects, all the content is archived in the digital repository of the Vienna University Library, which is called Phaedra. Finally, I would like to tell you a few words about the book edition of Campus Medius. The version Campus Medius 2.0, which we now just had a look at, went online in spring 2021, and 1 year later, in spring 2022, the book version of Campus Medius was published in a German and an English version. It was published open access as an ebook, and also in a printed edition by the publisher Transcript. And in the book edition of Campus Medius, I explain the whole website. It's kind of like a manual to the website. I, for example, explain the data model of Campus Medius, which you see as a diagram here. We have screenshots of the website with QR codes leading to the corresponding web pages. The book also contains the whole historical case study with selected historical images. We also have diagrams explaining the navigation modes on the website. We have screenshots of the mobile version of Campus Medius, which you see, for example, here. This is a panoramic photograph of the Turks' deliverance celebration, which shows a lot of media historical details and so on. And this is again this picture of the microphones with numbers, where I try to explain what kind of models these microphones were and how they were used. Okay, that's it. I want to thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this quick tour through Campus Medius. Please visit the website campusmedius.net and also check out the book edition. You can freely download it from the publisher's website. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.